Welcome to the Black Appalachian Coalition's podcast entitled Black Remembering, where we will bring to you the heavy and the hope across the Ohio River Valley. We want to remember who we are, where we've come from. We want to speak to the oral history of what we've done, what we've achieved. We want to speak to the ills that we have experienced while also finding solutions to those problems, those issues. We want to deal with the narrative that has kept us deeply rooted in despair. Now we want to punch through that narrative and stand up and say, we are remembering our Black past, and we are rooted, and we are here to stay. Welcome to Black Remembering. We hope that you find your place, your space, and your voice in this podcast.
The year 2023 has been one of challenge, but also great reward. I am so proud to have been selected to be a member of the Black Remembering podcast, and I will truly treasure all the documented conversations that I've had over the course of the year. It gave me the opportunity to reflect on where I am, which is Appalachia, and who I am as a Black woman and as a cultural worker, an artist, and a cultural pollinator. It made me remember that not only do I have access to a wonderful network of incredibly talented people, but also to a rich heritage and a legacy of great strength that came from my ancestors. So when I look back at the fact that our podcast is called Black Remembering, we bring forth the heavy and the hope, not only across the Ohio River Valley, but as it stretches on into the 13 states that make up the region called Appalachia. So I take on this charge of answering the following questions with great excitement. What does soul care mean to me? Well, first of all, I am so grateful that we use the word soul instead of simply self. That soul goes much deeper and covers much more territory than simply our individual selves and our individual experience. That soul goes to the core of who we are in our lived experience and beyond. And when I answer the question, what does it look like and how does it show up? It shows up in the least expected moments when we feel that we have no more energy of self, that we have no more energy of the physical, that it goes into a place that we would not have been able to experience on our own. And where do I see it currently within my community and other communities around the region? I see it in the sharing that we express when we have that conversation over the telephone, beyond the clicks on social media, and when we not only get a chance to sit down in each other's kitchens and be able to sometimes use these technologies to connect and see each other and express our joys and our pains and our challenges and our hopes for the future, but also in the grocery store, when we help someone take their groceries to their car, when someone unexpectedly actually dials us up and has a long conversation over the phone, or when we just reflect back on these moments that we've had when we might not be able to have that close one-on-one communication with one another. And where do I want to see soul care show up more often? It's through this podcast. I truly hope that we can share what we've learned and that we can have these as a resource to look back on and to bring out in the society that very often looks at things as expendable and that trends come and go, and that whims of fashion or whatever you may call it only have a short shelf life, that we're actually creating an archive of memories, an archives of reflection. Because one of the things that's most important that I've experienced during this podcast fellowship is the way that people that I interview can reflect back on their own experiences. And in answering the questions that I pose to them, or as they reflect on things that they haven't really considered or reflected on, that they see this wealth of strength, that they can draw upon it themselves. Because ultimately, it's the people that inspire us that keep us going. It's not what we have or what we don't have. It's the moments, moment to moment, touch to touch, conversation to conversation, the things that build us up and that give us this sense of endurance and this sense of empowerment and the sense of hope. So Black Remembering the Heavy and the Hope is a wonderful resource that I'm glad that I was able to be a part of, to collaborate, and to learn. And I look forward to the next conversation that we have.
This is Melanie Meade coming to you from Clairton, Southwest Pennsylvania, Appalachia region. I'm here to discuss what soul care means to me. For me, soul care is our way in which to prepare our highest spirit self. So it's vital. It's something that is like water and nutrition. And without it, we find ourselves depleted and in need, or constantly in want, when we can be satisfied if we were to take care of our souls. It's important as women, especially, to remember how many we are in care of. And I think that we do it thinking from the perspective of who are we responsible for. But as I said, in order for us to reach our highest self, the soul must prepare the spirit to gain its actual and full potential. So you have to start with the womb, right? And the mother. And even when she isn't a mother, a daughter. And as a daughter, without a mother, she's still the feminine energy and the one who carries life, if possible, when possible. So we must create a space for ourselves within life, within this living, within everything that we do that puts us first, so that we can identify and check in with who we are. And when we think of who our identity has been in American culture, we are always the cared for, but never having been cared for. So it's time for us to really take care. Those first thoughts you have when you wake up in the morning, the last thoughts you have at the end of the night. You must take time to listen and hear them in order to know what they are doing or what effect they may have on your energy, on your physical body, and on your mental health. That check-in, that moment of just assessing the thought, listening to it, and realizing how it makes you feel, and being willing to change if it isn't making you feel correct or if it isn't making you feel well. So that's how important soul care is to me. And it means how we will exist in our life. So it looks like your thoughts. It looks like what you're willing to eat and what you're not willing to eat. When you know better, you do better, right? And so we have McDonald's on every corner, and sometimes it feels as if you have a McDonald's in the middle of the block, all fast food. And we have to decide whether we want to eat something that is ultra processed with very little nutrients to sustain us, or whether we're going to take time and invest in something that is living, that has life, gives life, and is nutritive to the body. And it's important. We really have to think about what we do for ourselves, how we think about ourselves. The skincare you use is important. Once I realized the lotions that were in the local Family Dollars, Rite Aids, and Dollar Generals were toxic, sometimes I'd have experiences and I just thought, oh, this must be something wrong with me. When in reality, those were chemicals that there is no small print written that says these are toxic to your body. So all we do for ourselves and with ourselves throughout our living is our soul care. And it has to be intentional. It has to be authentic. And it has to be focused so we're not distracted. I feel like in communities like mine, we call things soul care, but it makes us very busy. And generally, the people who are caring for souls are even more overwhelmed because they've put on events to name soul care, but we're not practicing it daily, if not hourly, and we need to. It's something we need to address right now because we know better. It's time to do better. And, you know, it's a journal book you lay by your bed, and maybe a notebook you have, you know, in your favorite other space in the house, living room, or by your coffee pot. And just write down those thoughts as you're pouring your water, as you're getting ready for bed. It's just a simple check-in, and you may look into them and read them right away, or you may give it a day or so and just check in with yourself and see, how are you thinking? How are you feeling? And were you well? And if not, what can you do about it? What are you willing to do about it? And who are you willing to ask for help if you find you need to? In my community, I still don't know that I see a lot of soul care within our religious spaces. There's a lot of faith, but we're not tending to the body in that there are rights to speak to what we experience, and we're not addressing them. And sometimes it can drain us, and that can show up and create sickness as well. So we have to be able to identify opportunities for change and be willing to connect and find support to make those proper changes. And it must be done with women. And I think the sooner the better. And it looks like little girls dancing with grandma or great aunt, and little boys exercising or taking walks or runs, bike riding with their grandson or with their sons. It looks like us truly asking our loved ones, "Are you okay?" And sitting long enough to give space for a true and authentic answer. And being willing to share our experiences if we can relate or share some support we may know. And we need to see more of it. And I think that with COVID, we have an opportunity for it because we've seen so much tragedy and loss. So we realize that the souls are weary. And I think this is a great time for us to really start taking care of ourselves and creating spaces within community where that's the norm, and checking in with everyone, coaches checking in with coaches, and them checking in with their athletes, and teachers checking in with students, and pastors really checking in and checking on other pastors, mothers checking in on other mothers, trying to find ways of support that we can co-opt. And we did it before. It was something that we always did. You know, grandma had her special cream no one could touch. It wasn't the regular lotion everyone could use. And Pop had his space, you know, or your dad had his space where it was his and you had to have permission to be in that space. So we have to remember those times and recreate them in our new living today, because that is who we are, who we've always been, and who we will forever be. Souls walking the earth until we gain our spirit. Thank you for tuning in.